The story begins with Sujata and Raghav. They had been happily married for 5 years. Raghav worked as a senior project manager at a prestigious corporate infrastructure firm in the city, while Sujata took care of their home. Their life was comfortable, routine, and deeply rooted in love. Raghav was a quiet, practical man who preferred keeping his professional life entirely separate from his personal affairs. He rarely discussed office politics at home, and Sujata never felt the need to question it. It was a Tuesday morning, completely ordinary in every single way. Raghav got dressed in his usual sharp charcoal suit, rushed through breakfast while glancing at his phone, and kissed Sujata goodbye before heading out into the morning traffic. However, in his usual rush, Raghav left his premium stainless steel lunchbox sitting right on the edge of the dining table. Sujata noticed it nearly 40 minutes after he had gone. She knew how much Raghav despised eating heavy, greasy restaurant takeout, especially on a hectic workday. Looking at the freshly prepared meal, she decided to surprise him. She would travel down to his corporate office for the very first time and deliver it to him in person. She had absolutely no idea that this spontaneous act of care was about to tear her entire world apart. Sujata booked a cab and headed straight to the city's high-end commercial district, where Raghav's company, Global Infra Corp., occupied a massive multi-story glass skyscraper. Stepping inside the grand lobby, she felt entirely out of place among the bustling sea of sharply dressed corporate executives. The atmosphere was cold, intimidating, and buzzing with artificial light. She approached the primary reception desk with a nervous smile. The receptionist looked up, offering a standard, polite smile, and asked, "Welcome to Global Infra. How can I assist you today?" Sujata adjusted the lunch bag in her hand and replied, "Hi, I am here to meet Raghav Sharma. I'm his wife." The receptionist typed the name into the security database, checked the internal directory, and nodded. "Ah, Mr. Raghav Sharma from Project Management. He is on the 9th floor, in Executive Cabin 904. You can take the express elevator right behind me." Sujata thanked her, her heart racing slightly as she stepped into the sleek elevator. The numbers ticked upward rapidly. She felt an unexplainable weight in her chest, a sudden wave of anxiety that she brushed off as mere nervousness about entering Raghav's professional workspace unannounced. The elevator doors chimed open on the 9th floor. Sujata walked down a long, carpeted corridor lined with glass panels until she spotted the frosted glass door of cabin 904. A neat silver plaque on the wall read Raghav Sharma Senior Project Manager. Taking a deep, stabilizing breath, she gently knocked twice and turned the handle to walk inside. Raghav was sitting behind a massive dark mahogany desk, intensely reviewing a stack of legal agreements and structural blueprints. The ambient lighting of the room cast sharp shadows across his face. Hearing the door open, he slowly raised his head. Sujata smiled warmly, stepping forward to place the lunchbox on the edge of his desk. "Raghav, you forgot your lunch on the table this morning. I thought I'd bring it over to surprise you." Her voice trailed off instantly as she caught his expression. The eyes looking back at her didn't possess a single shred of recognition, warmth, or the familiar love she had known for 5 years. Instead, they were cold, detached, and piercingly hostile. He looked at her with a mixture of irritation and utter confusion, treating her presence like an unwelcome, bizarre intrusion. Slowly raising his left hand, he gestured for her to stop talking immediately. He looked at the lunchbox, then shifted his gaze back to Sujata's face before raising his voice to call his personal assistant, who was stationed just outside the glass partition. The assistant opened the door immediately, looking anxious. Raghav pointed an icy finger toward Sujata and spoke in a clear, unbothered, commanding tone, "I don't know her." "Who is she?" Sujata felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. The words echoed in her ears like a physical blow. For a second, she genuinely believed he was playing a cruel, elaborate joke on her. She forced a strained, trembling laugh, stepping closer to the desk. "Raghav? What kind of a joke is this? Stop playing around." "It's me, Sujata. We literally stood in the kitchen together just 3 hours ago. What is wrong with you?" but the man sitting across from her didn't blink. His expression remained stone-faced, void of any emotion or familiarity. He calmly picked up his desk phone, dialed internal security, and spoke directly into the receiver. "Security, I need 2 guards in cabin 904 immediately. A strange woman has bypassed the lobby and forced her way into my private office. Remove her." Within 2 minutes, 2 uniformed security guards entered the office. Sujata began to panic, tears spilling over her cheeks as she tried to reach for his hand. "Raghav, look at me. Look at my face. Why are you doing this?" The guards showed no hesitation. They firmly grabbed Sujata by her arms, pulling her away from the desk. She struggled against their grip, weeping and pleading, but the man behind the desk simply returned his attention to his paperwork, completely indifferent to her distress. They dragged her down the long corridor, past dozens of whispering colleagues who stared at her as if she were a mentally unstable trespasser. She was thrown out through the main revolving doors onto the concrete pavement outside. The lunchbox fell from her hand, crashing open, scattering the home-cooked meal across the ground. Sujata sat on the pavement, completely broken and trembling with shock. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands and dialed Raghav's number, but a cold automated voice informed her that the device was turned off. Desperate, she called 2 of Raghav's closest friends, but both of them brushed her off awkwardly, claiming they were trapped in critical corporate meetings and couldn't talk. Realizing she was entirely alone in a nightmare she couldn't comprehend, she dragged herself to the Central Police headquarters. She collapsed into a chair opposite the desk of Inspector Analytical Officer, Kabir. Through heavy sobs, she recounted the entire morning, how her husband left for work, how she went to deliver his lunch, and how he looked her dead in the eye and claimed he had absolutely no idea who she was. Inspector Kabir initially suspected a severe domestic dispute or a sudden psychological breakdown. However, Sujata's absolute terror and sincerity convinced him to investigate further. He dispatched a small plainclothes unit to the Global Infracorp building to review the situation quietly. When the police arrived at the high-tech office complex, things took a deeply suspicious turn. The man claiming to be Raghav Sharma had abruptly signed out of the building just 20 minutes after Sujata was removed, stating he had an urgent off-site client emergency. Inspector Kabir immediately demanded full access to the building's main high-definition CCTV security grid to trace his movements. As they zoomed into the footage of the confrontation inside the cabin, Kabir noticed something highly unsettling. The man looked identical to Raghav, but his micro-expressions, his posture, and the specific way he held his pen with his left hand did not match the official identification records. The real Raghav Sharma was strictly right-handed. The investigation accelerated into an absolute thriller. Within 2 hours, highway patrol units discovered Raghav's actual sedan abandoned in a deep, overgrown ditch along a deserted industrial route on the outer edges of the city limits. The driver's side window was completely shattered, and his wedding ring along with his wallet were left sitting on the dashboard. Inspector Kabir called Sujata back into the interrogation room, his face incredibly grim. "Sujata, brace yourself. The man you encountered in that executive office today was not your husband. His real identity is Vikram Vance, an elite international identity thief and corporate fraudster." Kabir explained the terrifying reality of the plot. Vikram specialized in targeting high-ranking corporate executives who held sole clearance over multi-million-dollar offshore bank transfers. Vikram's syndicate had meticulously tracked Raghav's daily routine for months. That very morning, before Raghav could even reach the highway, they staged a minor accident, ambushed his vehicle, and abducted him. Vikram, who had undergone subtle cosmetic enhancements to perfectly mirror Raghav's facial structure, quickly changed into Raghav's clothes and assumed his identity to authorize a massive, illegal wire transfer of $40 million from the company's reserve accounts. The syndicate had mastered every detail of Raghav's professional life, but their entire operation overlooked one unpredictable variable: Sujata showing up at the office with a lunchbox. When Sujata walked into the cabin, Vikram knew instantly that a single prolonged conversation would expose his fake identity and ruin the entire multi-million-dollar heist. To save his operation, He chose to act cold, calling security to discard her before she could notice the subtle differences in his voice and behavior. Armed with this critical breakthrough, the police tracked Vikram's burner phone signal to the international airport. Just minutes before he could board a private charter flight to escape the country, Kabir's team tackled him to the ground and placed him under arrest. Following a brutal interrogation, Vikram broke down and revealed the location of the syndicate's hidden safehouse, an abandoned, heavily guarded cold storage warehouse near the shipping docks. The tactical police unit raided the warehouse just in time, finding the real Raghav tied to a chair, heavily drugged but alive. As the paramedics stabilized him, Sujata rushed forward, pulling him into a fierce, tearful embrace. Raghav weakly opened his eyes, recognizing her instantly, whispering her name. Her simple, stubborn determination to deliver a lunchbox had not only exposed a massive international conspiracy, but it had ultimately saved her husband's life. Armed with Raghav's statement, Inspector Kabir ordered a complete digital forensic audit of all mobile devices and emails belonging to the senior staff at Global Infra Corporation. Within 12 hours, the cybercrime unit flagged a series of encrypted text messages sent to Vikram Vance from a burner phone located within the office building. The texts contained real-time updates of Sujata's arrival in the lobby on Tuesday morning. The trace led directly to none other than Raghav's own personal assistant, the very man who had stood outside cabin 904 and watched Sujata get dragged out by security guards. The police raided the assistant's apartment in the middle of the night, catching him as he packed his bags with thousands of dollars in cash. Under intense interrogation, the assistant broke down and confessed everything. He revealed that he had been deep in gambling debt and was approached by Vikram's syndicate 6 months ago. He had provided the syndicate with Raghav's facial photographs, voice recordings from office meetings, and the exact timing of when the offshore wire transfers were scheduled to take place. He admitted that when Sujata unexpectedly showed up with the lunchbox, he panicked and signaled Vikram inside the cabin to immediately call security before Sujata could notice that the man behind the desk was left-handed and had a slight difference in speech. 3 months later, the high-profile trial of Vikram Vance and his corporate syndicate began at the city Supreme Court. The courtroom was packed with journalists, corporate leaders, and citizens who had followed the terrifying identity theft story. Sujata stood in the witness box as the primary prosecution witness. The defense attorneys tried to argue that Vikram Vance was merely a pawn and that there was no absolute proof of physical harm intended toward Raghav Sharma. However, the prosecution presented the stainless steel lunchbox, the cracked glass from Raghav's car window, and the precise CCTV footage showing Vikram dismissing his own target's wife with absolute malice. The judge delivered a historic verdict, sentencing Vikram Vance and the treacherous personal assistant to 25 years of rigorous imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The international banking authorities managed to freeze the offshore accounts just in time, recovering every single dollar of the stolen corporate funds. Global Infra Corp issued a public apology to Sujata for the actions of their security team and honored her with a Special Courage Award for defying corporate intimidation to uncover a massive criminal ring. With the trial finally behind them, Sujata and Raghav returned to their quiet suburban home, eager to rebuild their life away from the flashing cameras of the media. The physical bruises on Raghav's wrists had healed, but the psychological impact of the abduction made him appreciate the simple aspects of life much more. He decided to resign from his high-stress position at Global Infra Corp to start a boutique consulting firm from home, ensuring he could spend more meaningful time with his family. On a bright Tuesday morning, exactly 1 year after the incident, Raghav sat at the dining table, getting ready for a meeting with his new local clients. Sujata walked out of the kitchen, carrying the exact same premium stainless steel lunchbox, packed with his favorite home-cooked meal. They both looked at the lunchbox and then into each other's eyes, a deep smile passing between them. Raghav reached out, took the box, and held Sujata's hand firmly. What started as a simple, ordinary routine of forgetting a meal had tested their marriage through fire, proving that no amount of criminal planning or high-tech deception could ever stand against the intuitive power of true care and devotion.